complimented more than those.
Good morning. Hello. Thank you for joining us, everybody. Welcome to Cannes. How many of you are first-timers? I am so excited that we're kicking off with you. Thank you for coming today. I'm Laurel Rossi. I'm the Chief Marketing Officer at Infillion. We're an ad tech company. Thank you. We're an ad tech company, and you'll probably know us as the company that has products like Truex and ShopX and InStadium and Next. We are excited to be kicking off this week at Cannes with a panel around the Inclusion Cafe. And you're probably going to ask, what's the Inclusion Cafe? We got together with a lot of our partners in the industry and said that we really wanted to make this Cannes very special from an inclusion and representation standpoint. And so we worked together with lots of partners. You'll see partners for the Inclusion Cafe and the A-List in particular to put today's panel together. I'm so excited to be kicking off with this group. You can follow us, by the way, and use our hashtag, which is Infillion@Cannes. And you can follow all the content all week. I hope you all come back. Today's content is particularly special to me because in the States, it's Juneteenth. And we honor that at Infillion. And we hope that we all have an opportunity today to take a moment and think about why we're here. And we're going to kick off with a conversation with Tiffany Black, who's the Chief Content Officer at Epiphany Content Media. Thank you, Tiffany. Thank you, panel.
All right. Thank you, everybody, for coming out this morning. We're going to be talking about cultivating the future of Blackness in media. But let me start with the introductions of this very esteemed panel. So to my far right, we have Dexter Santos. He is the Vice President of Player Services at the NFL Players Association. Dexter has worked 30 years in professional sports marketing with the NFL, NBA, and Major League Baseball, with extensive experience in celebrity talent acquisition, media strategies, and brand development. Dexter has brokered hundreds of successful partnerships between major brands and athletes and continues to build profitable alliances at the intersection of sports, culture, entertainment, finance, and community nonprofits.
Let's go.
All right. Next up, we have Alex Kennedy. Alex is the Executive Vice President of Commercial Strategy at MyCode Media. In this role, she leads teams accountable for driving revenue, sales operations, and M&A strategy and integration efforts. Prior to MyCode, Alex spent 5 years at Twitter, first as the Global Head of Partnership Strategy and Operations, and later as Director of Client Solutions focused on retail and travel companies. Prior to Twitter, Alex spent nearly a decade at Under Armour in a variety of roles that shaped how Under Armour approached their digital strategy. Next up, and this person has a special place in my heart, Joe Nickson is the Creative Chief Officer at ConCreates. Pure strategist, charismatic, and creative genius isn't something you normally would talk about when you talk about a bank robber. But in the case of Joe, a South Central LA native, his ability to turn media nightmares into marketing miracles allowed him to turn his life around. Growing up in the home of a logistics expert and a caregiver, Joe developed skills that took him places he could have never imagined at the age of 25, which is federal prison. But on June 6, 2005, he was sentenced to 20 years in prison for having robbed 27 banks. But while in prison, he met Vincent Bragg, who helped him to see the potential of his skills in the agency space, and there they formed ConCreates. So after over 17 years, Joe has transitioned from navigating relationships inside to finessing marketing tactics on the outside. And Joe, I don't know if you remember this, the reason why you have a special place in my heart is because I'm the child of a formerly incarcerated person as well. So you can definitely turn your life around, and your family can have a positive legacy going forward. So that's why you know you have a special place with me. And last but not least on this incredible panel is Marissa Nance, who is also one of my mentors. During more than 30 years in advertising, Marissa Nance has invested into her very own special personal quest, which is driving representation in the industry's workforce and work. She creates pathways for BIPOC communities to have a seat in the table. In 2019, she left a 30-year career at Omnicom, where she was one of the first Black female managing directors to launch the first and only minority and female certified media agency, Native Tongue Communications. Built on her decades of success, Native Tongue Communications is the place where Marissa and her team can now advocate for clients that have included Amazon, Nike, Microsoft, McDonald's, just to name a few, but not to name them all. She serves as protector, advisor, and champion for countless women and BIPOC people, all through the lens of media, branded content, DE&I, and marketing communications. Thank you, Marissa.
She sounds very cool. I'd like to meet her. I'd like to meet
Love
her.
Marissa.
Can someone get me an introduction?
And last but not least, you have me, your moderator. Hello again, my name is Tiffany Black. I'm the Chief Communications Officer and Content Lead for Epiphany Content and Media. Prior to that, I was at Google Cloud as the head of global social media. I've been a marketer and journalist for over 20 years, so I'm super excited to lead this panel. So let's get things started. I want to set the baseline for what we're going to be talking about. So we're going to go to church for a minute. Let's all touch and agree that in the year of our Lord 2023, in this month of Pride and Black Music Month, on this Juneteenth day, that Blackness is not a monolith. There is more than one way to be Black. Let me repeat that. There is more than one way to be Black. We need to acknowledge and embrace the diversity within the Black community and recognize that there's not a singular or monolithic Black experience. Black creators, artists, athletes, and celebrities have played a pivotal role in shaping and defining cultural trends, driving innovation and creativity in various industries, including fashion, music, film, arts, sport, entertainment, and more. Black athletes, celebrities, and creators are becoming media brands. They are defining their voice and controlling the narrative via podcasts, video, social media, and more. We are the trendsetters, defining cool and pushing into new mediums. So again, we're gonna expand upon that today. So first question I have for the panel, and actually Marissa, I'm gonna ask you to answer it first. In what ways can media content and storytelling reflect the multifaceted aspects of Blackness, including the intersections of race, ethnicity, gender, sexuality, our socioeconomic backgrounds, so that we can promote a more inclusive and accurate portrayal of the Black community?
All right, well, can I start, Can? I'm going to be a little combative, perhaps.
Yes, amen.
And I'm going to say, we should not. Because sometimes you're doing too much. And in doing too much, you lose where you were headed in the first place. So while all of those things are extraordinarily important, what I would advise is we've got to really begin to center ourselves on a pure mission. And once we begin to take that journey, that pathway toward that pure mission, then those things, those additional things, those points of intersectionality will come naturally. They'll come organically. It's that focus, right? It's that fierce focus in terms of the mindset and where you want to go and where you want to land. And then all those other things, I think, very organically will begin to uplift and support that. So I love all those things you said, but I'm going to say let's begin to focus in on where we want to go, who we want to be, and let those other things come in naturally around it.
Joe, I'm going to throw to you because I think you might have a slightly different perspective.
Just a tidbit. It's just like, I believe in those ways, continue to have the uncomfortable conversations. And when we have those uncomfortable conversations, I'll give you an example. I did maybe 6 years, and the neighbor on the side of me, he was a white supremacist. Never spoke to him. He had so many offensive tattoos on him. It was just a thing. Well, one day, I know his visit was coming, and what would happen, he didn't make up his bed, and when they do inspection, they'll tear the whole unit up and they'll stop the visits. And I took it upon myself to enter his cell and made his bed. And from that thing alone, we've had candid conversation. He's still one of my dear friends right now. So when you have these uncomfortable conversations that you would probably never, ever talk to a white supremacist, ever in life. You know what I'm saying? But I guarantee you, if you do, there's going to be a common denominator, and that's you're human. And I focus on that instead of the differences.
So I'm glad you mentioned introducing a common denominator. And that's what I think media does. Media introduces a narrative and a way of life and exposes people to things that they may not otherwise be exposed to in their everyday life. And that is why I think creative and film and artistry is so important for Black media, because it can change the way we are perceived. And, you know, shows like, well, I'm a Shondaland fan, so just period. But like, you know, shows like that where you have Black people in positions of power and leadership and as objects of desire, all of these ways that traditionally the media did not portray us, it is so important. But there's one other piece to it. So like the media or the creative is one part of it and hella important. However, where that media lives is also critical. Because obviously when I see a beautiful creative that, you know, speaks to me as a strong Black woman, just out there, that's one thing. But when I see that same piece of creative targeting me or talking to me on a website that I know is focused on Black women, that hits differently. And that is where kind of the creative and then the media piece comes into play to help change the narrative.
I'm going to look at this from more of a selfish lens. Obviously, I've worked in sports 30 years. I've had the privilege of working with guys in the NBA across the spectrum. And the things that we fight against is the sensationalism of things that sort of put athletes in a bad light. But at the same time, we have hundreds of players that's making impact, that are doing things across the country that don't get placed. And I'm so happy that the passion points for these players don't allow them to stop because things aren't covered. You know, we're always trying to get attention on what these guys are doing and hopes that they're impacting causes and impacting the community. So for me, it's about, you know, let's not focus on the things that are sensationalized, but let's focus on the things that really are making a difference and sort of create that caravan to kind of carry that forward.
So before we get into the future of media, let's talk about the present. How can the media industry better support and amplify Black voices today in our current landscape?
Wait, one more time. You know I got all distracted. You dropped the
I know, so you're
phone.
throwing everybody off.
Trying to throw me off my game. How dare you? How dare you?
I try to throw you off.
It's not going to happen. You know I'm tight, man. I'm tight.
30 years, she's got it down.
I got
Let's
this.
try it.
I got this. You tried me, though.
tried you.
Congrats. Good for you.
Basically, what can the media do today to support more Black voices, creators, authentic content for us versus before we get into the future? What can be done today? Marissa has a thought, so does Alex.
So I am loving the fact that we talked a little bit about this, right? The channel. And I love that we as a people have begun to embrace and create our own channels. And in doing that, we have been able to amplify our voices and our authentic selves, because I'm not going to waver. That's where we began. I said, focus on your true and authentic mission. And that's what's most successful, right? So we have so many creators today who understand where their audience is and what their audience wants to know. And in creating for and about their audience in a way that builds that mutual bridge, that connection, today, I think that's working, and it's building. Do I think it's sustainable? I don't know. I don't know. And so we can talk about tech and what we need to do in tech and how we need to get ahead of that curve next. But I think today we're treading water.
Alex, thoughts?
So how can we support today? The media industry can put money into the Black ecosystem. That's how they can support. So what does that mean? That means, one, hire us. Hire us to build teams, lead teams, build creative content, work with multicultural focused people and have diverse teams. So that's one. And pay us when you do that. just for the record, very, very clear. Pay us well. Two, reach us, talk to us, proactively make attempts to connect, because that, by putting money into that ecosystem, that is the way today you can make a real impact. And let's be very clear, the media industry has a lot of money to place a lot of places.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Joe, Derek, Dexter, anything you want to add?
No, I would just, echo the comments here, and I think it's very important to be authentic in terms of what you're covering, and then also the aspect of putting money in the areas to kind of focus on those aspects of black media as well.
And please acknowledge, when we are working in this space, we do oftentimes get the black budget, and everybody knows there's a difference in that black budget. And please bring that to attention. I'm gonna do dope shit, but just give me a little bit more. Sheesh. You killing me. Give me some dope money.
So let's get into the future now. So in what ways have advancements
And let me just say, because you're going to make them dope money with your dope shit.
Yeah.
Let's say the most important
Because it is
thing here.
award season. and Google
You're going to
us.
make
Yeah.
them more money, and they're going to keep that.
That part.
Yeah, and
That's-
let me say one thing to Joe's comment. When I was in the NBA, it was all about checking the box. And sometimes when you're just checking the box, you're doing the absolute minimum just to say, we've checked the box. And I think that's something that's got to cease.
All right, so it's time to get into the future then. So in what ways have advancements in technology like AI and digital platforms like TikTok created new opportunities for black content creators and media professionals, and what could potentially be next?
Oh my goodness, excuse me. First of all, this TikTok thing, I'm talking about, there is no such thing as irrelevant anymore. Bobby Brown starts to stream, whatever it starts to stream off of a dance in a hot moment. You have all of our favorite 90s artists right now on tour because of TikTok.
Feuding and on tour, right? Can I kiki, right? Isn't there a Babyface, Anita Baker
Come on.
feud going
They
on?
beefing.
I know, having a whole
They
beef on
beefing.
Twitter.
They
They're
beefing.
on Twitter.
They beefing.
On the Twitter.
But things like that, that's how I feel about that. There are no limits. Look what we're doing with AI right now. I don't even listen to regular music now. You know what I listen to? I listen to Tupac with Drake's songs. So imagine Tupac's voice. Started from the bottom now. This is amazing. It's amazing.
Rap some more for us.
Yeah.
You gonna do a whole medley for us?
I do want to make sure that we're thinking about this in terms of sustainability. And we're talking about media and content today, but we would be remiss if we didn't talk about technology and engineering and programming. Because we talk about things like AI and the technology behind it, but in the end, it's built by someone. How it becomes itself over and over and over again once it's built, but it's birthed somewhere. And the people that are birthing this today don't look and sound like us. And so that AI has been found, there's studies, I'm not speaking out of turn, is biased. It's biased. And that makes sense, because if I don't know anything about this world, I can't build it into the technology I just created. And so we gotta be really careful. It's very dangerous. And so as we think about that, one of the things that I try to balance is making sure that we're funding and encouraging young people of color and allies in engineering and programming and technology. And I think it's incumbent upon us to balance that as we're thinking about the content and the fun and the dancing and the challenges. There's also, let's get in there and let's get the programmers and the algorithms and let's get those scales balanced so that we have the opportunity for at least, and I'm going to use a sports fair, maybe a fair playing field.
I think you're absolutely right, because let's just be very clear. Even with the best tech, there's the virtuous kind of goal that's intended to be, and then there's always a darker, nefarious side of it. And you need to be able to balance both, and it's tech leaders' responsibilities to put the policies and processes in place so that people are protected. So that is absolutely right. I will also highlight, though, I am obsessed with emerging tech for Black creators. And the reason why is because it is democratizing access. It is allowing the creativity and the vibes and the culture that has always existed to have a platform that can be monetized. And I love giving people that access. I love the fact that people have a voice and can create their platforms. And that is so exciting to me.
And I agree. I just want to make sure it's not a setup.
Yeah.
I just want to make sure it's not a setup. We're being given a short-term opportunity for growth, and that short-term opportunity for growth is very short-term for us, long-term for the people who own it.
That's why it has to work.
Right? So then long-term for the people who own it, and that's because we don't understand and own that tech behind it. So yes, there's a lot of short-term opportunity. I'm just encouraging us, let's think long-term and behind it so that we can benefit and we can monetize truly. What did he say? There's rich and there's wealthy. Yeah. I want everyone in this room to be wealthy. That's my wish for you all.
Me
Thank
too.
you. Blessed is the name of the Lord. Thank you.
Except you, because you tried to throw me off my game. Come on now.
So Dexter, from a athlete perspective, how are they thinking about, and what are you talking about when it comes to the future of technology and like AI and things like that for the media brands that a lot of these athletes are creating for themselves?
Well, for us, I'd say 99% of the partners that we work with, I tell players all the time, if you do not have a social profile, you will not be utilized. I mean, there's no brand that's working with players. You got to bring your social with you. Now, the one thing that I kind of have a little bit of, how can I say it, disdain for is likes, right? We all are searching for likes, even when we ourselves put stuff on the social media platforms. But, you know, we encourage guys to set up studios in their homes, to take advantage of this, to be the first to kind of step onto these platforms. Our biggest challenge is getting folks that's not familiar with technology to get comfortable with it, because a lot of people aren't comfortable with technology. But again, you've got to have that in your mix if you want to work with partners. And I'm happy to say that our players get it, and they all have started to build these studios at home. And it's really, we can really see the impact of what that's having in terms of opportunities for them.
So let's talk a little bit about some successful examples of initiatives or campaigns that you've seen that really have promoted Black voices, creators, athletes. What are some good examples that have been done or even are existing in the market right now?
So I'll start with one that my code was very integral in creating, and that was Home Depot's HBCU campaign last year. And I know they're continuing it this year. The premise of the campaign was talking about the importance, this is their back to school campaign, talking about the importance of legacy and HBCUs into the market for Black people and creating this concept of Black excellence and passing it down. And I thought that was such an impactful campaign because naturally you go to the Home Depot as you are trying to prepare for your college dorm room, but creating it to Black excellence and Black education. Those are intangibles that go beyond just what you're selling at the Home Depot, but making this connection to the Black experience in a really compelling and authentic way.
And I'd also probably say I don't know if any of you have seen the Modelo's commercial spots, and I think they really have hit home with the voice and the culture of the spots that they've created, and I think it's really resonated, which is why you've seen their response in terms of the response of consumers with that brand. They've done a tremendous job with infusing that cultural voice, that authentic voice in terms of their spots.
I may need a little help. I think maybe Uncle Jimmy, it was maybe 2 years ago when we were doing the one club judging, and I came across this one piece. It was, I think it was RZA from the Wu-Tang Clan, and they had found out that from our childhood that the ice cream song was racist. And after they found a story about it, they actually rewrote the song. And I thought that was so dope from a cultural perspective. That had me excited. That piece of work, that was it.
What about some examples of things you've worked on? Because I know you've had a few campaigns.
We got, I mean, you know, I think I just won a couple of Cleos, or what is those awards for Telly's? We just did something like that. No, we just,
Like all the industry awards.
So many awards, he can't remember them all. It's like, there's so many.
So many awards.
Swimming in awards.
I love that for
He's
you.
bathing in awards.
No, we just, our piece that we did with United Airlines around Juneteenth. It was dope how the creative came apart. We actually got an all black flight crew. We had 100 aviation students who
Saw
never
that.
flew before. And we had Miss Opal Lee. And if you guys don't know Miss Opal Lee, she's a 95-year-old woman who walked 2 miles every year to garner 1.5 million signatures to make Juneteenth a national holiday. And we highlighted her in that piece, and it was amazing. It felt good.
That's great.
You know, I'll bring up two, and the Gemini in me says it's great to talk about the piece, but we've got to balance that with the results. So let's talk about one, the Crown Act and Dove. If you're not familiar with it, it literally is saying that people of color are traumatized and stigmatized in the workplace because of our hair. So you can see my long, straight, flowing locks. I would blend in. I'm being funny, or not. But this is hair that I carry with me, and it garners a response and an engagement wherever I go still, and it's 2023. And there are studies upon studies upon studies that say this means that I can't move ahead professionally, that I can't make as much money. There are literal roadblocks created in my life because of my hair. And Dove chose to combat that. And the Crown Act is now a law. So when we talk about results, they're creating law. And that goes back to where we started, right? How do we create the long game? What's the long game here? And then selfishly, I will give one example of the work we're doing. I'm doing some work now. Snoopy is my client. And Franklin Armstrong, specifically that one lone black nut, Franklin Armstrong. And what we understood was out of all animators, less than 2% are black. And so what that means is young children who watch animation don't see themselves, or at least don't see themselves in an authentic and real way. Again, goes back to where we started. So let's help create a pathway so that black people can become animators and illustrators, more than 2%, and these kids can see themselves and find that sense of pride. And so with Peanuts Worldwide, we've created not scholarship, but endowments at Hampton University and HU, Howard University. HU.
You know.
And we have already seen in under 24 months a double-digit increase in interest and people switching their major. That's impact and that's results.
So we talked about the present. Let's go back to the future. What can black content creators do to continue to evolve and stay relevant as these technologies and media platforms change?
I keep going back to the authenticity of what you're putting out there. You've got to ensure that what you're actually capturing is representative of the audience or the community that you're targeting. And so that's one of the main things that I see. I also see a situation where you have creators and there's opportunities to collaborate. And there are tremendous opportunities to collaborate with, again, I'm speaking more from a personal standpoint because I'm representing 2,000 guys. So my job here at this entire conference is to talk about how do I get these players, of which 58% are African American, out in mainstream America to kind of see what they're doing and what they're doing to impact.
So I think many creators, the ones that are currently successful, they're successful for a few reasons. One, they're incredibly authentic with their message. They know who they are and they communicate it brilliantly. They're on trend, they have a deep understanding of their audience, and they are willing to pivot constantly to stay abreast. Now, I like to pivot this question slightly to, and just for the record, I think brands can learn a lot from creators in doing all of those things well. But here's the key. You can't keep doing that thing well. You can't turn your side hustle into your full-time situation as a creator if you're not getting paid. So let's talk about how to get paid as a creator. And the key to getting paid as a creator, one, you absolutely have to have that social profile that you were talking about. But you also need to know how to navigate the system. You need to understand how to harness your craft in a way that it can work with brands. You need to understand who to talk to so that you could be potentially put on that brand campaign. For any creator who might be in the audience, there's Vicky right here in the white. She's the type of person that you need to talk to who are constantly hiring creators for campaigns. You need to make sure that you understand how the system works, how the timelines work, how the creative approvals process work, build a team around you to support you, so again, you really can capture the dollars in the market.
So should they remain independent, or is it about finding agencies that can support them, or even starting our own networks?
I think it's an all of the above situation. I think it depends on who you are and where you start in your career. I will highlight, just because of our earlier conversation, you need good counsel around you. We all do. And I think, and that's one of the beautiful things about the social platforms that drives connection. Like, ask for advice. Make sure that you are being paid fairly, or is this a good contract, or is it okay to say no to things like this? Like, you don't know what you don't know, and part of building your brand and your business is surrounding yourself with the right tribe that can lift you up and protect you, and protect your blind side, just because it's a sports reference.
I got your blind side. I got you. You can turn that way. I got you on this side. Okay?
See how you did that? That was flop.
And I'll also say, you also have to be willing to take a chance. We recently launched an event last year that was semi-successful. We came back to the same event, and I'll talk about it a little bit later. And we were looking for content folks to come out and cover this. Now, of course, this was a pilot program. We didn't really have a lot of money. I'm with the union, not the NFL. And so we had a company contact us. And they said, look, can we come down and capture content? We will give you the content. We just want the connection. This group sent me 6 videographers, 2 producers. We paid $0. We paid for their expenses. They gave me 70 hours of content. But you know what that led to? Introductions to them. A lot of introductions. So yes, while the expense was high on the front end, the payoff on the back end was tremendous. And so I think from the creator side, you gotta be willing to know how to take chances, who to work with, those types of things.
I was going to say, you don't know what you don't know. And my response was going to be education. And so reaching out and taking a responsibility, those people here in this room, on this stage, and understanding. I mean, I'm going to shout out Sheila Marmon there and Mira Digital, because Native Tongue is the first and only minority and female-owned media agency, and Mira Digital, first and only minority and female-owned digital creator network and creator network, and we're talking about that now. And Sheila and I don't know, she's going to kick me because I say things too early, but are doing exactly that, because we are of and from the community and we understand the community, we're able to step forward and create for these creators an ability to come in for a day or two and really go through the paces. And it's not just the content, it's the programming, it's the legal, it's the marketing, it's really everything, so that they leave with an understanding of how to be better, and again, that long game, not the short game, the long game. So we're doing that kind of thing, and we're really proud of it. And so I shout out Sheila and what she does then.
Yes.
So I'm going to ask one more question, but if anybody has questions, please pull them together, because I want questions from the audience as well. So my last question for the group is, what's next for each of you? Like, what are you working on that is striving towards expanding our reach in Blackness in media?
I'm chasing Uncle Jimmy Smith. I want to be in the Hall of Fame, Advertising Hall of Fame, the Nobel Peace Prize, and that's it.
That's not much. That ain't much. For me, again, I was talking a little bit earlier. We explored launching a player-centric initiative. I'll give you the story real quickly. I had the privilege of taking a bunch of guys on Celebrity Feud. And you can get a lot from conversations. And we had one of our players on Celebrity Feud, and I said, hey, man, what are you doing in the offseason? He said, well, I coach this 7v7 team. All 15 of my players got D1 scholarships. I said, get the hell out of here. 15? Everybody? D1? He said, yes. So the next day I came to the set, and I told this player, I said, hey, DeMario, I was talking to Lamar Jackson, and he told me he saw that team you had. He said, you don't understand how any of those guys got a scholarship. He said, what? He said that. I said, yeah, matter of fact, he told me to tell you anytime you want to come to Florida, bring it on. He said, oh, it's on. It's on. I'm coming to Florida. It's on. So anyway, what I saw was the level of passion. So I went back to the organization, and sometimes, you know, when you work for an organization, sometimes things get shot down, sometimes don't. My best way to get things through, I'm a pilot. This is a pilot program, it's pilot. So we went back the first year, and I went to Lamar, I said, hey, we want to create this 7v7 player-centric event. The reason we want to make it different is that in order to put a team in, you have to be coached by a player, mentored by a player, or sponsored by a player. There's no other league that exists like this. So we put the league together the first year. Lamar was on board. A month out, we secured 15 fields. We had 0 teams and 0 players a month out. We ended up doing the event. We had 36 players and 40 teams that came out the first year. Got some steam, went back to the organization, said, I think I'm on to something. Let's go ahead full steam with this. They gave me the green light to do it. We did it this year. We go back to Tampa. This year we had over 100 teams participate. We had over 40 players that took teams from all over the country, spent 3 or 4 days with these kids, came down, they did this event. We're looking at expanding that to Vegas. Now, what's so important about this, it's not just about football. These guys are spending entire weeks with these kids. They're working with them before they come down. There's fellowship, there's mentorship. They're seeing players as father figures. They're seeing players as coaches. And so that's been one of my passion projects. And so we're expanding to the West Coast. We're going to have a championship series, and it's been something that's really, really taken off. And so I'm really, really excited to be a part of something like that.
That's dope.
Yes. Thank you.
Amazing. So my future, actually, I want to say it's my now. So today, I have the privilege of working for a company that's literally doing what we've been talking about. That is hiring and investing in Black creative and media to drive, Nancy, to your point, results for brands. And so that is what I want to continue to do. I want to continue to help educate brands around the impact of this work. I want to continue to help find and invest on the next best content creatives and creative agencies that may be Black focused and getting them more jobs working with us. And I want to continue to invest in the Black publishers who we already are talking to, but continue to funnel resources to them so they can make more amazing content to create this fabulous ecosystem. I'm doing it today, I want to do it tomorrow, and the next day after that.
I'm going to piggyback that. I think the big difference, but not just Black focused, but for the work I'm doing is Black equity, again, the long term. So Black focus is one thing, but if we're being monetized on versus monetized with, I have a significant issue. So that's why Mirror Digital and Native Tongue are launching the BIPOC Creators Wealth Academy so that we can teach all of the important assets and elements of what it takes to create wealth and keep wealth and build wealth. That's what's important. I can get up, even grandma can get up and do a song and dance and get on the TikTok. That's one thing. But how do I monetize it? And how do I learn how to keep that dollar versus spend it as soon as I see that first handbag I want? Because I have a weakness for handbags, I'm just going to tell you. So that's what we're working to do. Create wealth, keep wealth, grow wealth.
So, Joe, I know you're going to win all the awards, but Any projects coming up that you can talk about?
That I can. I don't know if I could. Can we talk about that? Yeah. Okay. So we are in developmental stages. We're going to be one of the first ad agencies that has a television show, and it's called Students of the Game. And what we do is we go around the country finding dope black brands, and we do what we do for the United Airlines and the Metas and the other people. And it's just gonna be amazing. It shows you guys like that we're kind of your favorite influencer's favorite influencer. And it's gonna be dope. If you guys wanna see something where you have a little bit of Mad Men, put a little bit of Boys in the Hood and Entourage, watch this. You guys are gonna be highly entertained.
I'm watching.
I'm already intrigued. I want to see a preview. Any questions in the audience? Because not, I can keep going all day. Oh, Jimmy, yes. Mike coming.
Everything y'all said. Oh, excuse me. Thank you. Everything you all said. Dope on the rope, as I like to say. And Marissa, for instance, we were talking about AR, VR glasses 2010, 2009.
You trying to tell people how old I am? Is
I'm
this
sorry. I'm sorry.
Come on now.
I'm sorry.
Come on now.
Well, you were just in grade school
When
then
I
we
was
were
an
talking about it.
intern, when I was a college intern.
Right,
Yes,
right,
yes, okay.
right. And that goes towards what you were saying about ownership and long game and all that kind of stuff. Couldn't sell it. Lo and behold, here comes all these other cats, Vision Pro and so on and so forth. And so my question is this. Everything y'all said is right, but it's hard to get white folks to understand because they just don't understand.
They understand. Wait, hold on.
Well,
now.
no, let me
Hold on.
ask
Okay.
them.
All right, I'm sorry, Jim. I'm sorry.
I don't think they get it, but that'll be too long of a segue. But the black folks in these positions on the brand side do understand it, do get it, and understand it. Why aren't they more supportive?
All right, I'm going to say, I think everybody gets it. It's just a matter of how they react. When you and I were talking, they all got it. It's just a matter of how they react. And it's also a matter of who's the gatekeeper. And so that goes back to the original conversation of opening doors and pathways so we can continue to climb. Because if we're not gatekeepers, there's issues. I mean, I had a really hard first quarter. I got two calls, and they were both the same thing. One person I appreciated because he told me the truth. He was a non-Hispanic white man, and he called me and he said, you know that contract we just signed? I'm not gonna do that. And I said, wait, you mean the legally binding document you're not gonna pay me for? He said, yes. And I said, is something wrong? Is our work? He said, no, we love your work. We may use it later. I said, so you're telling me you don't want to give me a contract, you don't want to pay me, but you're going to take my idea. Can I ask you why you don't want to work with me? And he said, well, Black Lives Matter really isn't as prominent anymore, and we're heading into a recession. And so I have to balance my books, and you're going to be my first cut. He was very clear. Black lives don't matter. So how do we get to be gatekeepers because we understand whose lives matter and whose lives don't? And it's opening those doors so that we don't get those kinds of calls. It's really pushing forward that way because we're going to keep getting that wall.
Yeah, and I'd also say it's about who brings you to the party, right? You know, I've had the ability to run, advertising for sports teams, and oftentimes you have to paint the picture completely. Sometimes you can throw out a concept and people get it, but sometimes you have to give me the whole concept, or you have to have a friend inside. Everybody's got to have an inside man. But I think there's a balance between amplifying something and whether or not it's going to sell product for me. And I think, nobody wants to try to put their job on the line for maybe it might work, maybe I'm trying to hit something. That's why the check box works so well. I'm just checking the box. But if I'm going to invest in you, I've got to know that it's going to be results. I've got to know that it's going to generate the type of return that, that I have. And oftentimes, I don't think that the folks that are the gatekeepers, unless you're painting the complete picture, I don't think they do get it. That's just my perspective.
All right, well, this conversation can go on all day, but we have so much more to do at Cannes. So I want to thank everybody for kicking off Juneteenth and Cannes with us today at the Infillion Garden. And please check out the A-List. We are going to be having continuous program here in partnership with the Infillion Garden.
Thank you. Can we hear it for Tiffany?
Thank you,
Can we hear it for
Let's
Tiffany?
go.
Moderating first up, Cannes Day
Amazing.
1 breakfast. Let's go, Tim!
No.
Let's get it.
Thank you so much, Dexter, Alex, Joe, Marissa, and of course, Tiffany. This has been an amazing conversation. One of the things that I just want to say before we leave each other for the rest of this crazy week, hopefully, please come back and be here all week. Most important, in this very slick industry, thank you for reminding us to be authentic, because that is what sells. Thank you for setting the tone for the week and making sure that we are all here for each other. And I really appreciate your being here. Thank you.
Thank you.